Hey everybody, this is Josh Jackson, aka Inu Joshua at Geekscape.net, coming at you again with another unboxing video, or in this case I shouldn't say unboxing, I should probably say unwrapping, because we've got our Yu-Gi-Oh! Code of the Duelist expansion, graciously provided to us by Konami, so we wanted to go ahead and open these up and share them with you, kind of look at the cards that are going to be included. In terms of what to look forward to, the main card in the deck that's being highlighted, or in the set that's being highlighted, I should say, is Goki the Great Ogre, which kind of uses your opponent's defense points against them. We also have Mrs. Radiant, which pulls Earth monsters from the graveyard. So that kind of gives you that option to cycle through. These are all, of course, this whole set, of course, is focusing on Link Summoning, which is the new big mechanic. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans know we go through this every couple of years where both the anime and the game go through a major format change where there's a new summoning type introduced to kind of shake the game up a bit. The difference, though, between, say, Synchro Summoning, the Xyz Summoning, and Pendulum Summoning, and then Link Summoning, is that Link Summoning is kind of changing the whole game. So, while in the past it kind of provided a new way to summon monsters, this time the whole game is changing around Link Summoning. So, strategies that you might have used even at the very beginning of the game might not work any longer with the way that the game's being played now. So, we'll go into that a little bit more as we go through the packs, but we do encourage you to watch our review video of the Link Summoning starter deck that we went over, which kind of goes into more detail about how all of that's going to work. So if you're worried that the old cards are going to be abandoned, you don't have to worry about that, because this set does also include Synchro monsters, Xyz monsters, Pendulum monsters, and support for some older archetypes such as the DDD archetype, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and yeah, many others. So, without further ado, let's go through the first pack. And for the sake of time, I did open them, but I did not look through the cards, so we'll be looking at them for the first time together. First one is going to be Chosen by the World Chalice. We'll start with the common cards and go through it like we would a normal pack. So, Vendread Remnants, Dark World Brainwashing, which is, I'm sure, exciting for Dark World fans, which I was one, and many of my friends were back when I was kind of at the peak of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Fandom. So, our first super rare card is Ib the World Chalice Priestess, which, while I mentioned there will be ritual summoning cards in this set, you might think it's ritual at first because of the blue border, or the blue background, but it's actually the Link Summoning, and you can kind of tell by the kind of digital background that it has, as well as the arrows around the artwork. So, I did want to mention those arrows real quick, because those are important. These arrows are basically how you're going to be able to set up your extra deck summons, because the way that it works now is each player only has one space to use monsters in their extra deck. However, depending where those arrows are pointing, if it's pointing at a monster zone, that monster zone becomes a new extra deck space. You have to be careful, though, because Link monsters that are especially strong might point to an opponent's space, and you'll be giving them an extra space for extra summons without any effort on their part. But you can also manipulate the field and kind of link them around the field to take over both main extra deck spaces so that your opponent can't summon anything from the extra deck. However, as of right now in this early stage, it's not really a viable strategy because it would take way too much setup. But let's just go over what the card does outside of that initial mechanic. The card is a spellcaster Link monster with an effect. It needs 2 monsters with different types and attributes to be tributed to summon it. And it says, this linked card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Your opponent cannot target this linked card with card effects, and if a monster this card points to, and by points to they mean points to with those arrows on the border, if it would be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 World Chalice monster from your hand. So basically, it gives you an extra special summon for that archetype, and in addition, lets you protect a monster that it might be pointing at. And since it can't be destroyed any other way, it kind of provides a good shield for, say, a more powerful monster that you want to kind of protect on the battlefield. The next rare card is the Trickstar Lilybell. Her effect is that she's a fairy type, and if this card is added to your hand except by drawing it, you can special summon it. You can only use this effect of Trickster Lilybell once per turn, and if this card can attack your... This card can attack directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one Trickstar monster from your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it has 800 attack, so it's not the strongest, but it does have 2000 defense, which might help it withstand an attack or two before your opponent catches on. And obviously its strength is that it can be instantly summoned depending on if it's drawn by a card effect instead of just your normal draw phase. And since it can attack directly, you can kind of fill your hand and playing field with more of the Trickstar archetype cards every time that it attacks. It might not stay alive on the field for very long, but of course that will help you kind of thin out your deck and pull the monsters you need sooner than later. So next we got Predaplant Banksy Ogre, which is kind of a mouthful. Looks like some kind of deranged carrot. Treasure Panda, which I'm always excited to see panda cards because it reminds me of the whole Chumley set from the GX days. GX was my absolute favorite and still is, so I'll always have a soft spot for those. We have Supreme Rage Trap, and then we have Infernity Patriarch. So that does it for the first pack. Moving on to the second, we got Zombina, Jane Twilight Sworn General, so got our Light Sworn support, which is another old popular archetype if you're not familiar. Launcher Commander, and then our next super rare, which is Crackling Dragon, which is an 8-star effect monster, so let's see what that does. Machine effect. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster with equal or lower level. When your opponent normal or special summons exactly one monster, and no other monsters are summoned while this monster is on the field, you can make that monster lose attack equal to its level times 200. If you do, inflict damage on your opponent equal to the attack lost by this effect. So this card does a few different things. It is a bit hard to summon because it is an level 8 card. Of course, there's all kinds of different ways from monster effects and spells to be able to get it faster. But once it's on the field, since it can't be destroyed by monsters that have a lower level than it, that kind of thins out the possibilities of destroying it, even if the monster is stronger. And then once an opponent is able to summon a monster, they take that extra damage, which basically, unless they can summon a lot of monsters at the same time, which is a lot harder to do on this new format, every time they summon, they're going to take damage. So if you have them on the ropes, this is a good card to kind of clinch the victory. Or if you want to kind of just make them cautious of summoning any kind of setups in fear of taking damage or in fear of not being able to destroy it at a lower level, since 8's kind of a high level in the game. Of course, you do have all those options, so that's always good. So our next rare card is Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion, an Xyz monster, which is going to expand on the Dark Rebellion archetype. And its ability is that it's a dragon Xyz effect. It needs 2 level 4 Dark Pendulum monsters to Xyz summon. Once per turn, before damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can detach a material from the card. Till the end of the turn, change the attack of that face-up opponent's monster to 0. If you do, this card gains the attack equal to the original attack of that monster. During the battle phase, you can return this card to the extra deck and special summon up to 2 Supreme King Dragon and or Supreme King Gate Pendulum monsters from your extra deck in defense position. So it's kind of letting you get around the extra deck summoning limitations that you do need. Since this is an extra deck monster in and of itself, you do need that extra space. So while you're able to summon multiple ones, it might be a bit hard to pull off since you'll need that extra space. However, the effect itself is pretty strong since you're going to be able to weaken your opponents and strengthen your card at the same time. So we've got Transmission Gear, Performable Trumpanda. So Performables are still getting plenty of support. FA Hang On Mock, and Smile Universe rounds out the second pack. So we're off to our last pack of the set that we got. Going to start off with World Legacy's Heart, which is a spell card for one of the new sets as well. Pulse Mines, FA Circuit Grand Prix, And we're going to make it 4 spell or trap cards in a row. We got Defense Zone. And no luck with the Ultra or Secret Rares this time, but we do have another Super Rare, Mrs. Radiant, which is one of the highlighted cards that we were talking about in the beginning of the video. So, it's another Link Summon monster. As you can see, it has 2 arrows pointing at the bottom diagonals, which would, if it's in the default extra deck summoning space, it's going to give you 2 more extra deck spaces, which would be perfect to put that Dark Rebellion Dragon we just went over on the field while this is out. But let's see what Mrs. Radiant does. It's a Beast Link effect monster, and it requires 2 Earth monsters to be attributed for its Link summoning. All Earth monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense. Also, all Wind monsters on the field lose 400 attack and defense. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effects, you can target 1 Earth monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So, it only has 1,400 attack points, so it's not the strongest, but it does give your other Earth monsters the extra 500 point boost, which is definitely going to help, while weakening your opponent's monsters by 400. The catch is, though, that they have to be Wind monsters to be affected by that handicap, and I feel like it's too specific to be all that helpful. However, if you do know that your opponent is playing a Wind deck, or if you're playing like in a tournament format, I can't imagine that this would be super useful in tournaments. But if you do have your side deck and you see that your opponent's heavily favoring Wind monsters, that definitely can come in handy. But I feel like it's very, very specific and might not be as flexible as you might want it to be. But otherwise, it sounds like a great card to use, especially for those 2 extra deck spaces that you get. Next is Goki Suprex. So it's not the main Goki card, but it is, one of that new archetype. So this card's a warrior with an effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Goki monster from your hand. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Goki card from your deck to your hand, except Goki Suprex. You can only use this effect once per turn. So basically, it just gives you a lot of different ways to search your deck for more Goki cards. Like it mentioned, once it's in the graveyard, you can add from the deck to your hand. Once it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can do so. And when this card is, and then you could also special summon this when, or you could also special summon another one from your hand once it's normal or special summoned. So it gives you an extra way to both get an extra card on the field and to add cards to your hand once it's inevitably destroyed. Rounding out that last pack is another Infernity Patriarch, Stack Reviver, and FA Downforce. Okay, so that rounds out our review cards for today. We didn't get any of the super rare ones, but we did get a lot of interesting cards to kind of show off the direction of Yu-Gi-Oh! Going forward. I'm excited to see how it's going to expand. As usual, when new formats come out, it does take a little bit of time to kind of get enough support to get rolling and to the point where we can really see the potential of it. But it's a really bold direction that the game's moving in, but it's also very exciting because this is the first time since the game came out that it's going through such a big change. So, we're going to keep a close eye to see how it progresses. We encourage you guys to do the same. And if you had a chance to go to any of the preview events, if you've gotten a chance to look at any of the cards coming out, make sure to let us know what your favorite ones are. Let us know what kind of strategies you're looking forward to coming out of this set. And if you want to discuss any kind of other strategies, cards, or any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Talk, make sure to share it with us at the comments. Make sure to visit Geekscape.net for more in-depth articles and more in-depth details on not just Yu-Gi-Oh! But all of your card game, video game, movie, and TV news. Basically anything in the geek realm, we've got covered for you. So make sure to check us out there. Make sure to follow me at InuJoshua on Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to subscribe, and we're going to be doing a lot more of these going forward. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.